Good afternoon, and welcome to our October edition of the SendMyAd Tips and Tricks Training webinar. Today we're going to cover some new features, a couple of small things that you might miss if you don't know that they're there. And that's a new way to complete our product and brand information on your upload form. We also are going to talk about an issue that comes up sometimes in support. It's a little confusing, and there's been a little bit of a change too that we've made on the back end with the idea of picking up an ad and adding issues to an existing ad. So we'll talk about that, what makes them similar, what makes them different, and why you might use one over the other. And then the final part is we're going to go through a little tutorial on customizing the portal settings. We may not get through all of the settings, so if we don't, we'll address and do like a part 2 next month. But there's a lot of things in the portal settings from release to release. We typically will add some new settings in there. And so we'll go through and talk about those and how you can customize the portal in a variety of ways. Okay, so just a little housekeeping. The GoToWebinar client has a zoom button if you need to expand. I have a fairly large monitor, but not huge, so you may need to adjust in order to see all of the presentation. If you have any questions, you can ask those at any time. If they're relevant right then, we may stop and answer them. We may also come back at the end and answer all the questions then. All right, let's move on. All right, I'm logged in as a publisher. And that's so I can kind of more easily show you how this is. But I'm going to go through the process of the upload form for a print ad as if I was an advertiser. Okay, but that's just to save us a little time here. But I am logged in as a publisher. Now, what I want to show you is this new idea we have of trying to bring a little order to the product and brand information. Now, if you're not sure what that is, let's first go to the company profile. And under our print ad settings, we have the Manage Upload Form Items. Okay, if I click that, you'll see that among the various options we have for controlling the print ad upload form, we also have the brand field and product field. And you can optionally require one or both of those. I've set it so that they're present, but the uploader doesn't have to supply them. Let's take a look at an ad that that has that information. Okay, so here I have a beer ad, and for product, I put beer, and brand is Pilsner Urquell. All right, let's now pretend we're an advertiser. Okay, but this works if your internal staff is sending ads as well. But let's send a file. Okay, we select the print ad. Let's pick publication. The publication doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, but you see that if I start to type a brand, it's going to auto-suggest for me, and that's based on the letters that I start to type. Okay. If I start to type Acme, okay, that will come up as a suggestion. Product, widgets was one that I had previously put. Beer was the one that I showed you. Okay. So this this allows us to help standardize the information that you see in those fields. And that, it's a small thing, but it does make it easier for the advertiser, and it does ensure that you get more reliable data for searches, because those fields are available in our advanced search and can help you or the advertiser locate those things. So there's nothing really to configure with this. If you have these fields turned on, it's just going to work. Now, that being said, it's a relatively new feature. It takes time for us to build up that history of what information was put in there. This doesn't go back and retroactively populate the autocomplete for the existing ones. So, but over time, we hope that will be more and more useful for you. Again, if you don't see those fields right now on your print ad upload form, I've just shown you how to turn those on. Okay. All right. The second thing we want to talk about is adding issues versus pickups. Okay. So as you probably know, we are able to pick up ads pretty easily in here. So let me go back to that beer ad. It's a completed ad. Okay. And there's an option here to pick up the ad. Okay. So let's do that. I just have to supply some basic information. None of this really matters. I'll just pick anything. Nope. Okay, and we'll just pick that ad up. Now, what's happening behind the scenes and why this process takes a short amount of time is that depending on how we pick those options, and also a preference that we'll briefly touch on in our third topic here. Depending on how we've set things up, this ad may be copied with everything intact, and there'll be no changes made to it. We won't reprocess it, but we do make a copy of it. Or, as is happening now, because I picked a different publication with a different size for the ad, and I have the preference enabled, which allows my users to reprocess their pickups. There's actually work being done behind the scenes. We have to, we copy the original file, we reprocess it, we make a new PDF and preview for you. So all of that entails that there's more work being done on the back end. Okay, because of that, there's always a charge, a billing charge when you're doing a pickup. And that charge may be different, depending on your contract and your agreement with us. But there is intended to be a billing charge for this event. Okay. And it's also important to just remember that even if the ad is not reprocessed, even if it's even if you pick it up in the same publication, but you send it to a different issue, okay, we still make a new copy of the ad. Okay, and where you can really see that for sure is in the information that is collected with the file in file properties. You'll also find this process ID. For us, that's the unique identifier for each of your files. So every time you upload an ad, every time you create a new ad in the system, that is the identifier we use. And we'll sometimes ask you for that number, because for us it's always unique. It's there's no ambiguity about it. You typically identify your ads using a materials ID, which is hopefully unique for you. But for us, the process ID is important. So if you look at that, you can see that this number is 972. Okay, it ends in 1946. If I come back to my original Pilsner ad here, and you look at it, you'll see that the process ID is different. So that right away tells you that these are two different files. They're two different copies, and again, a separate charge. Now, the other thing that I could have done, and some of you have figured this out, is you can say that, hey, this ad, it really needs to run in, an updated issue. Okay, so rather than going through that idea of picking up the ad, some of you do this. You'll go into the information. I'm sorry, the general tab, and where we show the issues, there's a button that says Edit Issues. Okay, and you can add right here. Okay, and that kind of appears like you've done the same thing. The effect is the same. The ad is now available in that new issue that I just put in here with a later or a different date. Okay. Now, in this case, there isn't the same sort of charge that you get when you pick an ad up. Okay, so some people are using that in a way to sort of circumvent the idea of pickups. The features there can be used. It's not a trick, but it does, in some cases, kind of limit the functionality. Okay, and some of you actually don't allow this. Okay, there is a publisher preference to limit your ads to one issue per ad, and we have talked about dropping this idea of having multiple issues available per ad. I'm not sure what the status of that conversation is right now, but I know that's been discussed because it kind of confuses things a little bit. So, this whole idea may at some point go away, and it may be that things are one ad or one issue per ad. Okay, so some of you see, rather than this whole area here that I showed you, you may have simply a select menu, and you can only pick one at a time. So, your portal, it may be that you have to do pickups. Okay, and depending on your workflow, how things go, that might be the right choice. Also, if you're a customer that uses our API, you also that really does kind of force you to use that setting of one ad per issue, or one issue per ad. I keep saying it the wrong way, for various reasons. So this whole area, it is a little confusing, but it can be used right now if you've got your preference set up the right way to have the same effect as pickups. Now, the idea of it not being billed, that is true, but we have lately added a little wrinkle to this, and that is that if you're dealing with an older ad, okay, something that ran last year, okay, now everyone's got a retention period, and every publisher is different, but typically it's a year or 13 months, something like that, and we keep your ads for that amount of time, and then after that, those ads are eligible to be pruned from the system. Okay, so if you're in a situation where you have an older ad and the target run date, the new issue that you want to add to this to an older advertisement, if that's further out in the future than the time that we're expecting to prune the ad, okay, then what we do is we update the retention period to be the latest issue date that you're adding, and then we charge for a new ad. Okay, so basically what we're saying is you've gone into an old ad that we're about to get rid of, and you've decided that you're going to run it again in another issue. So you're resetting the amount of time that we're going to hold on to your data for you, And so therefore we consider it in, similar to a pickup. You've caused us more work or more storage because we have to keep your file for longer than we had negotiated. So it's one of those things that it's a fairly recent change. It's I think it's something you should be aware of. The pickup, we would like to, it's generally more flexible if you do pickups. Adding the issue is easier. We sort of closed a loophole where ads could just, keep getting, you would just keep adding new run dates. And we fixed a problem in that scenario where people would add new issues to an old ad, but then it would get pruned because it already had run so long ago that it was no longer considered an active ad. Okay, so we've done a couple of things. We've fixed an issue, we've changed the billing a little, and we're hoping to sort of nudge everyone towards pickups because it does give you more flexibility. And as more people use the API, you kind of need to steer that way anyway. Okay, so I hope that's clear. It's a little bit of a nitpicky thing, a little detailed, but it does come up in support. We do have to go sometimes restore ads for people because of this whole idea. And we'll open up the ad and we'll find that it's been added to 10 different issues over time. So we hope that you'll find that easier. Okay. So now let's move into the tutorial portion of this, which is to talk about how you can control a lot of things in the portal. Okay, and like I said, there's a lot in here. I'm going to try and get through a fair amount of it here in our remaining 10 minutes or so, and we can address this in a later webinar as well next month. So anyway, what you do is you go into your publisher details, your publisher information, and you'll see that we have a bunch of settings. Now, this is my my all-purpose demo account, my demo publisher. So I've got all of these preferences here, and these are for products that you probably don't have, many of you. So there's virtual publisher and some related things with that. Digital and tablet ads, ad creator. Okay, so you may not see any of that stuff. You may just have general print ad, and then you'd have approval cycle, delivery, reports, templates, and look and feel. Okay, so we're going to start at the top and work our way down. Okay, so we try to, wherever we can, we try and break these out into logical groupings. Now, you've noticed, I'm sure, if you've ever come in here, that there are a lot of these things. Okay, and they're not always, some of them are self-explanatory. Some, it may make sense what it says, but you kind of wonder why somebody would want to do that, or why they wouldn't want to do that. And the general answer for that is that we often will add, when we get a feature request from a publisher, we look at it and we say, is this something that would benefit the product as a whole? Would all publishers be happy to have the portal behave in this new way, or would they all want access to this new feature? And sometimes yes, and that becomes something that is just a general feature that's rolled into the product. And sometimes no. It may be that someone has asked for a feature that is very specific to their workflow, and we think that the appeal may be limited to just the one publisher or just a small subset of our customers. And so we'll move a setting into this area and allow you to turn it on or off. And we try to always come up with reasonable defaults. If we think it's something helpful that everybody really needs to have, we may default it to be on. Very often it's not, and you have to be aware of the new feature and you have to come in and selectively turn it on. Okay, but that's the story. That's why there's so many in here. That's why some of them seem maybe a little strange because it doesn't really fit your workflow, but for someone else it was something that was vital, for them. Okay, well, let's go through these. I'm not going to show you a demo for each one of these because it would just take forever to do that. Some things I'll reference where they go, and I'll show you that. But let's talk about the site settings. So the first one is manage your users on each publication. This is a really common one, and it's turned off by default, I believe, but it's one that very many customers do turn on. And this basically lets you, in a group, decide which publications those group members can see. So that way, you can separate out, publications or groups of publications based on the people who need to work with them, and hide them from the people who don't. So I have that on, and just where you would see that is in your groups. You can look in any of these groups, and you'll see this separate publications and digital media profiles. It may just say publications for you. And here you've got a list of all the publications that are in your site, and the media profiles if you're using digital ads. And you can simply add those one by one to the list of what they can see. So it's a this is everything from what they can upload to ads that they can see, publications that they can manage, that sort of thing. So it's a very handy way to separate those out to the appropriate people. Okay. All right, the next one is allow advertisers to sign up for an account from your SendMyAd homepage. If you prefer that you don't have people randomly, hit your portal homepage and click a link to sign up for an account, but rather that they receive an invitation from you, okay, then you could turn that off, and then they won't see a link on the homepage that says sign up for an account. So because advertisers can they can create one account and then use that account on any of our member publishers' sites. It's something of a loophole in that way, but it is possible for you to sort of discourage people from randomly signing up for accounts. So. Okay, the next one is to send customer support request emails to technical contact instead of materials receiver. So depending on how you are organized, you may have a person that you consider a technical contact. This is somebody who maybe is not involved in day-to-day, editorial, production type task, but who knows SendMyAd and is in charge of being sure that the experience is working for your advertisers. So, you may have someone like that sort of sits above the publishing structure, and that you want handling interaction with the customers when they have a problem. Okay, so normally, if this is unchecked, which it is by default, every time an advertiser opens a support request inside SendMyAd, it will go to the materials receiver of the publication. Okay, so this is a way for you to kind of redirect that towards that central, more technical person. So again, that came out of a specific request from a publisher. And so that's why it's here, and it's also off by default. But if that fits your model, great, it's there and you can turn it on. Okay, the next one is make the publication code unique across all your publications. And a related one, which is newer, and that's make all issue codes unique across the publication. So just to briefly show you where that comes into play, whenever you create a new publication, there is a field here for the publication code. And likewise, with issues, there's a field for code. If we add a publication, you can see that code is a required field. And that comes into play a lot of times for things like delivery. You might want rather than spell out an entire publication name in the path of your deliveries, you may want to just use that code. Okay, and there's other cases if you're using our automated API, the code is a more reliable way to refer to your publications. So this simply enforces uniqueness. So when you create a new publication or you try to edit an existing publication code, we check to make sure that among all your publications, the new name that you're trying to use has not been used before. Okay? Because obviously, if we're going to use that for delivery, if we're going to use it to uniquely identify your publications with automation, it has to be truly unique. So we just verify it. Likewise, the issue code, we look in the publication that the issue is associated with. Are there any other issues that have that same code? And now that's tied to the publication. So you could have a code for 10/15 for October 15 for your issue, and that can be across all your publications. That's fine, but you can't have in the same publication, you can't have another one that says 10/15 as the code. And then require external ID on issue creation. That's just another field of data, and if that's something that you must have, then you can force the user to enter it when they're creating a new issue. That was obviously a very specific request for somebody, and that's typically because of automation. That they need that field, whether it's when the ads come in, they need it, or when the ads are delivered, it has to be part of the name, or it has to be part of the folder structure. So you have to be sure that it's there. All right. The next area in the general site settings here is the outgoing email address, and that's the address that the notifications appear to be coming from when we send out emails. So whether that's to you or to your customers, an ad got approved, your ad just got completed and it's ready for download, or if you're sending a receipt type email, then those are the from addresses. Now we put this in here, okay, and you're free to change it. However, we do give you a warning down here, and we say politely that changing this from the default increases the chance that it's going to be flagged as spam. Okay, we said it politely, but basically, if you change this, don't complain to us about your emails being flagged as spam, because we've experimented with this. We've tried different things. How different email systems react to mail coming from our domain at SendMyAd or virtualpublisher.com. If you then change so this says acmepublishing.com, that is a red flag very often for Google Mail, Yahoo Mail, and a lot of corporate servers that they use different methods of trying to figure out if stuff is spam or not. So if you change those, and your advertisers or you yourself are saying, "Gee, I'm not getting my emails," check your spam folder. More than likely, they're flagged, and you're just going to have to use the default address. So use at your own risk. We put it in here, but our experience has been that if you change it, you're likely to be unhappy with the results. Okay, I think we'll finish up with the materials ID setup. We've been going about half an hour here, so let's briefly talk about this, and we can come back next month and talk about some of the other settings. Materials ID setup. First of all, there's the idea of allowing your users to edit the materials ID by themselves, and using the automated materials ID system. You don't have to use our automatic uh, generation of the materials IDs. You can make that so that you yourselves go in and type those in. You can hide it so that people aren't allowed to change it. Let me show you an ad. So any ad in here is going to have a materials ID that looks something like that. Okay, and what we're talking about is how to control that. So if I change to a different publication, you'll see that I have a different format. You can see that there's LCT, okay, and that's a code from my publication. This one has a different one here. Okay. Now that's using our automated system, and that's where we set this right here. Now this is typically not something that you go in and change lightly. Okay, this is something that was set up when your account was first established with SendMyAd. Okay, so this is something that generally you have a business reason for needing to make any adjustments. But if you've decided that you're unhappy with this, your requirements change, this is where you come in and do it. And so I want to show you just what is available. These are variables, and if you've ever edited email templates, you'll recognize the format. We have sort of an internal identifier that means something to us in code, and then it's wrapped in a percent sign. So it just tells us that this is variable information. And these are the things that we can use. We can use a publication code, which is what I've got right there, the first letter of the publication, a material code, which is another little bit of information in each publication, an advertiser code, an issue code, a unique identifier that's 5 digits for the issue, a 3 digits identifier. You can have a short label of an ad size. Okay, that's another little code that you can use in every ad size. A 5-digit unique publication identifier, or a 7-digit one. Okay, and then we also let you have just a separator of a dash or an underscore. So the 5 digits issue unique, or the 3 digits, it just means that we have like an internal counter. Same thing with the publication. We just maintain a sequence and we just increment it. So every time somebody uploads a new ad, we just increment it and we assign the next one. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward, and you can use any combination of these that you want. Obviously, some of them are kind of mutually exclusive. You'd never, you wouldn't have a 5-digit and a 7-digit. That just common sense. But you can use any combination of these, and we'll just take care of it. Every time somebody uploads an ad, we will do that. And then the last thing is to be sure that the materials IDs are unique. Now, if you use our automated system, they're always going to be unique. That's a guarantee, because we're maintaining the sequence, we're maintaining the variables. But if you're allowing people to manually edit these, then you really want to turn that on so that you're not getting duplicates. Somebody doesn't go in and think that they've created this special unique materials ID, and then to find out that now you're having trouble searching and getting the right ad because they're sharing unique ID. The final thing in here that goes along with the automated system is we have this sequence reset, and that lets us basically just go back and change the counter. So if you, for some reason, there's some problem with all of the numbers and you want to sort of start over, you can do that. If you want to suddenly jump the number up, you can do that and just manually set this. So it's a way for you to kind of make up for mistakes, or to decide you want to start a new series of numbers. You can do that as well. Okay. But again, this is not something that you would do lightly. You'd have to have a reason to go in and change this, but that's where that is coming from. And if you ever need to revisit it, that's where you'll find it. Okay, well, I hope that this was helpful. We'll go through next month. I'll put on the agenda to go through and talk about the print ad settings. There's actually quite a lot of things in here. We'll go through that stuff, and we'll tackle all of that next time. If there's anything else that you would like to see next month or in a future webinar, please let us know. We'd be happy to add that to our agenda, and you can email us directly in support or your sales rep at SendMyAd. We'll be happy to include those. So thanks very much for your time today. Hopefully we'll see you in November. Thank you.